Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are getting into something fascinating, the neuroscience of wealth. We're going to go deep, right into the architecture of your brain to figure out how it actually shapes your financial destiny.
All right, let's get right into it. If you think the only difference between being rich and poor is the number in your bank account, you are missing the biggest part of the story. The real difference, well, it's buried deep inside the folds of your brain. See, poverty isn't just an economic problem. It's actually a neurological condition. So that brings up a huge question, right? Can you actually reprogram your brain to be a wealth magnet, or are you just stuck with the programming you got at birth? To even begin to answer that, first we have to understand the anatomy of what some call the poverty brain. We're going to look at how financial hardship can physically change our most important organ, basically locking it into a state of constant, non-stop survival.
Okay, so when you are constantly worried about making ends meet, your brain doesn't just see it as a money problem. Nope, it sees it as a direct threat to your very existence. And this kicks on a permanent survival mode. It's a neurobiological response where all your mental resources get completely hijacked by the immediate, overwhelming task of just getting by. So what you're looking at here is basically a tug of war happening inside your head. Over on one side, you've got the amygdala. Think of it as your brain's hyperactive alarm system. When you're under financial stress, this thing goes into overdrive. It treats every single unexpected bill like a lion is chasing you. And that constant panic signal, well, it messes directly with the other side, the prefrontal cortex, which is supposed to be the calm, cool, collected CEO of your brain.
And this is the direct consequence. The amygdala is just screaming alarms 24/7, and it completely shuts down your prefrontal cortex, your brain's CEO. This is the part you need for long-term planning, for impulse control, for making rational decisions. When it goes offline, forget about strategic thinking. It's almost impossible. You're not just making bad decisions. Your brain isn't even giving you access to the hardware you need to make good ones. It's exactly why, under pressure, someone might take on crazy high-interest debt for immediate relief, because the part of the brain that weighs future consequences has been totally silenced.
And listen, this isn't just a feeling or a theory. It's a physical reality. Neuroimaging studies have proven it. This table shows how chronic stress is linked to measurable physical changes. Things like a smaller hippocampus, which messes with memory and learning, and less volume in the prefrontal cortex, which hurts your self-control. It literally changes the shape and structure of your brain.
So what's the psychological result of all this? It's a powerful and really dangerous pattern called learned helplessness. After you've been forced to endure all this uncontrollable stress over and over, you start to believe that nothing you do actually matters. You feel totally powerless to change your situation, so you just stop trying, even when a real opportunity to escape finally shows up.
So here's the crucial point. This isn't about willpower or some kind of character flaw. It's about programming. The financial software that's running in your head, it was probably installed a long time ago. Let's dig into how that happens.
You see, all of us operate on what financial psychologists call money scripts. These are these powerful, unconscious beliefs about money that we just absorbed when we were kids. You can think of them like the operating system for your financial life. It's just running on autopilot in the background, driving every single decision you make without you even realizing it.
And research shows these scripts usually fall into four main types. You might have a money avoidance script, where you deeply believe wealth is somehow corrupt or evil, or maybe a money worship script, thinking that if you just had more money, every single problem would vanish. Money status scripts tie your self-worth directly to your net worth, while money vigilance puts you in a constant state of anxiety, terrified you're going to lose everything. And these show up in real life, right? It's why someone might avoid asking for a raise or make a crazy impulse purchase just to feel better about themselves for a minute.
Now, this is really interesting. A therapy model called Internal Family Systems, or IFS, gives us a really profound way to look at this. These scripts, they're not your enemy. They're actually protective parts of you. They were created with the best intentions in the world to shield you, to protect you from ever having to feel the pain or shame or fear of a past financial trauma ever again.
So, if our brains can be programmed by our past, it totally stands to reason that they can be reprogrammed for the future. And the good news is, they absolutely can. So think of this next part as the reprogramming manual. The first and maybe most proven tool we have is something called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. It's a very practical, step-by-step process. First, you learn to catch those automatic negative thoughts as they happen. Like, I'm just terrible with money. Then you challenge that thought with actual evidence. And finally, you consciously reframe it into something more accurate and way more empowering, just like you see here.
Now, the reason any of this works is because of a beautiful fundamental property of our brains, neuroplasticity. Your brain is not fixed hardware. It's more like living plastic. It is constantly reorganizing itself based on your experiences and, this is the crucial part, based on your thoughts. The old saying sums it up perfectly. Neurons that fire together, wire together.
So how does this rewiring actually work in practice? Well, think of it like this. Trying to adopt a brand new belief, like I am capable of building wealth, is like trying to forge a new path through a really dense forest. At first, it's super difficult. The path is faint, it's overgrown, it's hard to see.
But here's the thing. Every single time you intentionally choose that new thought, you're walking that path again. Repetition is everything. With each pass, you're clearing away a little more of the underbrush. That neural pathway gets stronger, it gets wider, and it gets a whole lot easier to travel. And with enough practice, that little trail you blazed, it turns into your new default setting. It becomes a 6-lane automatic superhighway for your thoughts. And that old negative path, well, it just gets overgrown and disappears from not being used. You have literally biologically rewired your own brain.
And you can actually speed this whole process up. And these aren't some kind of mystical concepts. They are biological tools. When you do vivid visualization, you're mentally rehearsing the success pathway. When you use consistent affirmations, that's the repetition that strengthens it. And meditation, that actually calms down your amygdala, your brain's fear simmer, which makes your entire brain much more receptive to all this new programming.
Okay, so we've covered all the internal work, but there is a final and absolutely critical step. You have to connect this new internal software to the external, physical world.
And here's the crucial point. All the internal rewiring in the world is only half of the equation. There's an old saying, visualization without action is delusion. A new mindset is the starting line, not the finish line. It absolutely has to be paired with real-world behavior. Just think about it for a second. When your brain is no longer using up all its energy just trying to survive, it frees up this massive amount of cognitive resources. And all of a sudden, you have the mental space to actually notice opportunities you were completely blind to before. You can sit down and learn about investing without your amygdala screaming that it's too risky. You can create a budget not from a place of fear and restriction, but from a place of clarity and empowerment. The internal shift is what makes the external action not just possible, but the next logical step.
Look, your brain is the most powerful piece of hardware in the known universe. But for a long time, maybe you've been running the wrong software on it. The thing is, now you know you have a choice. You can stay a victim of that old, outdated programming, or you can become the architect and start writing the code for your own future. Real wealth starts the second you decide to change how your brain works. So the only question I have for you is, which program are you going to run tomorrow?